Hello, and welcome to the mysterious case of butterfly people. When I first heard about this case, I was very intrigued and started to look into it quite in depth. After research, I originally was going to exclude it due to the possible religious symbolism involved. I personally have no issues with religions, but I know some of my viewers are a little more sensitive to the topic. Not to mention that this channel is about the odd and paranormal and not religion. However, this incident kept sticking in my head, and after looking at it carefully, I saw an incredible resemblance to a couple other paranormal encounters. So with that said, I'll be going over every aspect of this case, which will go in an interesting direction. Whew. Okay, after all that, let's get into the topic. Joplin is a city located in Jasper County of the United States state of Missouri. With an estimated population of almost 52,000 people, the area has had quite a bit of history. In fact, during the Civil War, or War between the states, depending on where in the United States you're located, the area was a main spot for lead mining, which many of you know can be used to make bullets. During the Great Depression, the infamous crime duo of Bonnie and Clyde spent some time in the city. This time included robbing businesses before moving on for fear of being captured. With their escape, they left behind a camera that, when developed, included two of the most iconic pictures of the pair, which were first published in the Joplin Globe. After World War II, the main road running east and west through the town were designated as part of the famous Route 66. With all this history, the city added one more earmark onto the map with something terrible, but then turned into a little bit of a mystery. On May 22nd of 2011, a horrible tragedy befell the people of Joplin in the form of a Category F5 tornado. As a side note, this ranking is one of discrepancy, but I'll get into that in a little bit. At its widest, one of the tornadoes reached a mile across and caused $2.8 billion in damage and resulted in 1,150 people being injured and 158 losing their life. This catastrophic event is ranked as the 7th deadliest tornado in the US and is considered the most expensive one. Stay with me here, the paranormal part is coming. As for the discrepancy, all tornadoes are ranked for their severity based on the enhanced Fujita scale, which go from EF0 to EF5. I won't go into the specifics of each class, but an EF4 is anything that reaches wind speeds of 166 to 200 miles an hour, and an EF5 is anything over the 200 mile an hour range. Currently, the National Weather Service rates the event at EF5, while others argue saying it should be an EF4. The differences between the two are minimal, and personally I feel even making this argument is just a way to make it cheaper on the insurance companies, since a lot of times the companies base how much they are required to pay based on how severe the occurrence is classified. I'm sure at this point you are probably finding this information interesting, but are wondering, why is this on a paranormal channel? After all these events, one theme kept reoccurring, in which multiple children who survived a natural disaster described in detail of them being saved by a being they called butterfly people. One discrepancy is that some adults claim to have seen the beings as well, but their description was a little bit more darker and frightening. Many of the children described events where they or their family should have been killed or harmed, but were shielded and protected by what they described as butterfly people. For the most part, these beings could be only seen by children under the age of 4, and they described a being that was the size of an adult with butterfly-like wings, and most of them used the term that they were beautiful looking. Some cases even described them as having blonde hair or facial hair. There are multiple reports of people being saved, but I will briefly go over only 2. One story tells of a mother stuck out in a field and lays down over her child to protect her while the tornado approaches. At one point, the mother looks up to see a car hurtling toward them and just closes her eyes awaiting the impact. When her imminent death doesn't happen and it's obvious the storm is passing by them, her daughter asks if she saw the butterfly people protecting them. Another story tells of a man and his son stuck in their car as the storm approaches. At one point, the man sees the car being flung their way, but miraculously it gets swept aside. Already thinking this was a miracle, his son proceeds to tell him that he saw butterfly people keeping the car from hitting them. Multiple similar stories like this were told to family members, doctors, and even rescue crews. So much so that a mural was painted highly depicting butterflies was painted on the Dixie printing building called Butterfly Effect, Dream Takes Flight by Dave Lowenstein. The mural included many pictures painted by the children of the town. So what happened here? Psychologists have studied the case and feel that it was the children's way of coping with the traumatic events. That just doesn't explain why so many of them experienced the same thing, separate from each other, or why some adults reported seeing shadowy cloaked figures helping or taking people away. Could it have been mass hysteria, or was it something else entirely? While researching this topic, as I stated at the beginning, I couldn't shake the similarity that other unrelated encounters had to each other. Many cultures around the world have stories involving butterfly-like people in their stories. This also includes one of the most famous of all butterfly-type people, the Mothman. For years, the Mothman has been viewed not as a malevolent being, but rather the term Watcher is used. Reported sightings of this creature have appeared during many tragedies, such as the Silver Bridge collapse, as well as during the attacks on the Twin Towers on September 11th. The Mothman isn't alone in being viewed as a Watcher, since there have been many beings that fall into this category, including aliens. Not to pull a Giorgio Tsoukalos on you, but there are multiple writings known as the Anunnaki, which fit this bill. More often than not, the Watchers normally don't seem to interact with humans, but in a sense warn of impending doom. If the stories are accurate, this is one of the few cases where the Watchers actually take a role to prevent death. At the end of the day, no one will ever know what truly happened, or what these beings are, so what do you think? Were they a figment of a child's active imagination, angels, Watchers, or something else entirely? As I end this, I am driven to make a personal observation about the paranormal world versus skeptics. As I have stated many times, that I personally don't believe in every topic I make videos about, but that doesn't mean they possibly couldn't exist. As always, I bring the information to you and let you decide for yourself. Now, in researching this topic, I came across a few skeptic forums and web pages devoted to debunking the topic of this video. As with anything on the internet, it soon de-evolved into putting down and poking fun at the people of Joplin. Here is where I have a problem. What harm comes from these people using or believing in whatever means it is necessary to cope with the tragedy? These people lost everything, including family, friends, and loved ones. So why do some people feel the need to get on their high horse and debunk the butterfly people saving their lives if it is a good coping mechanism? Sometimes it seems that both the believers and skeptics need to take a step back and just say, okay, we will let this one go. With that, be safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.